Eddie, a former Marine Corps captain, is sitting alone in his truck outside the veteran's office, on his last straw, as he can't get work anywhere around town. He speaks with the admin, listing all his qualifications: 3 tours, Purple Hearts, Space Marine, the works. He is willing to do anything to make a living, even cleaning some dookie if he has to. The admin notices that his psych evaluation is not ticked, but Eddie lies that he is fine. The admin turns him down as there is nothing available at the moment. Eddie pleads with her as he has tried everything to support his wife and child who are 2 states away and cannot wait anymore. He is willing to work for minimum wage as a military captain, but the admin still says no. Eddie leaves, but the admin meets him outside, willing to overlook his psych evils, and offers him a job as a security guard where he will start right away. Meanwhile, some U.S. Marshals are preparing to transport a certain witness across state lines and head out on a convoy of 3 vehicles with their witness asleep in the back. By nightfall, the convoy is still on the road, moving at a good enough speed. The rain begins to pour, and the agents realize that they have no signal on their devices. They then realize they are being followed by a few cars, and the leader tries to alert the other cars but cannot get through. Suddenly, the convoy runs over spikes, causing the front car to flip and roll. Chaos then erupts as a small army of heavily armed men engages the agents in a gunfight. Realizing they are outnumbered, the leader tells the scared female witness to run into the nearby woods. After a while, the agents are all killed in a hail of bullets. The men then realize their target is missing, and in a few minutes, the men clean the scene entirely. Eddie gets himself a new apartment. That night, he calls his wife Valerie, telling her about the job he found. Valerie is worried about Eddie crashing out due to his PTSD, but he assures her he is fine and tells her to kiss their daughter Sylvie. He gets to his new job at a mall, where he is met at the door by a young guard named Vance. After checking Eddie's paperwork, Vance gives him a short tour of the mall and introduces him to another guard, Mason, and a female guard, Ruby, who does more drinking and sleeping than security work. The final guard on shift, Johnny, who looks like a K-pop boy band Reject, is out chilling. Eddie gets changed into his uniform, and Vance gives him a more detailed tour of each of the zones they cover. Eddie doesn't think much of their security as their riot barricades and few personnel can't stop anything in an emergency. Based on how he carries himself, Vance can tell that Eddie has been in the military, and feeling intimidated, he reminds Eddie that he is in charge here. Vance leaves Eddie to do his rounds, and Eddie stares longingly at a picture of a happy family before he starts to patrol. Due to the lightning, the lights soon go out, but the backup power kicks in. Eddie is passing by the entrance door when he notices a small girl banging on the doors and goes to let her in. The girl screams that men are coming before passing out in Eddie's arms. Eddie brings her to the lounge, where the other guards gather around. They try calling the cops but realize the lines are down, and the cell phones have no signal. At that moment, they spot a figure on the security cameras walking to the door. They meet the man at the door, who claims to be looking for his daughter. Vance is a little too gullible, but Eddie is suspicious as the girl was scared when she came in. Eddie questions the suspicious man about the little girl, and he seems to know all the answers, but when she awakens, she screams and runs away. Realizing he is caught, the man, Charlie, offers the guards $1.2 million to hand over the girl, or they all will die a horrible death. Vance is shocked, seeing that much money, and for a second looks like he might take it and give in to Charlie's threats. He begins to open the doors, but Eddie quickly knocks him out and locks the doors on Charlie. Charlie warns that he will be responsible for everyone's deaths and thanks Eddie for his service. Charlie returns to the men under his command and begins to ready them to make an assault on the mall to take the girl. Eddie goes looking for the girl, Jamie, who is hiding. He talks to her loudly, telling her about his Sylvie. A ball rolls to him like in a scary movie, but when he comes to check, Jamie comes up behind him holding a BB gun, demanding food, water, and Eddie's protection, to which he agrees. Mason figures out that Jamie is a witness in the murder of her own father, who worked as an accountant for mob boss Charlie until he leaked info to the feds. Eddie warns that the men are coming back and seem well prepared as they took out the phone lines before Jamie even arrived. They make plans to escape until they spot heavily armed men on the cameras surrounding the building. Thinking fast, Eddie finds a small room to hide Jamie in and hands her a walkie-talkie to talk to him. He reassures her that she will be safe. Eddie sees the men lingering outside and figures out they are disabling the cars in the parking lot. Vance remembers the gun he brings under his seat, but what is the point of conceal and carry if you don't carry? Mason begins to lose his shit, wanting to leave the mall as soon as possible. Eddie warns him that he will be killed if he leaves, expecting that the feds will come looking for Jamie, and they just have to survive until they get there. They make preparations, electrifying the shutters and blockading the doors. Charlie has a car ram the front doors, and a man charges and begins climbing the walls. Eddie and the guard light a settee on fire and drop it onto the car, setting the driver on fire before escaping under sniper fire. The sniper kills the man on fire, and Charlie orders them to clean things up. Eddie and Johnny escape, but Vance is caught by the climbing man, who fights him off until Ruby knocks the man out. They manage to escape, but the man soon awakens. They reunite with Eddie and the others, who warn that it will only be a matter of time before the men get to them. The plan is to buy time and take out as many of the guys as possible, and Johnny reveals his hidden skill of bomb making, thanks to YouTube. Eddie has Johnny be the lookout, telling him to watch for regular cop patrols and just signal if he sees them. Jamie has come out of hiding, not wanting to hide but to help. She even has a plan. Charlie and his heavily armed team then enter the building and hack into the security cameras. He then orders his men to find and kill everyone. One man gets electrocuted trying to open the shutters, but they eventually get inside. Jamie has mounted a camera on top of a remote control car and drives it directly to the men, who take it back to Charlie. There is a note to switch to channel 47, and Charlie hears Eddie on the channel. The two introduce themselves, and Eddie warns Charlie to give up as the feds will soon be on their way, and in the mall, they have the home court advantage. Charlie is unfazed, then sends a message to everyone listening, including his own men. If they succeed in their mission and kill Jamie, his men will get a $100,000 bonus. If Jamie survives, everyone, including their families, pets, and the postman that drops their mail, will be wiped out. Charlie's men get moving right away, scanning the mall for their target. Ruby sets off a diversion before shooting one of the gangsters with a bow and arrow, but she seems unfazed. They locate Ruby's hiding spot and begin to rip the room to shreds, advancing slowly. She pretends to be dead when one gangster comes to check, saving her life. Vance sets off a homemade nail bomb, but these guys seem to be on something tonight. One gangster almost finds Mason, who tastes the living crap out of the man before shooting the other. Eddie checks in on the guys on the walkie-talkies. Mason is freaking out, so Eddie makes his way to him. The path is blocked by the gangsters, who open fire on Eddie, forcing him to escape. Outside, the sniper spots the patrol car approaching and reports it to Charlie, who warns everyone not to do anything stupid. Johnny's moment is up to signal to the cop who pulls up, but the flashlight isn't working. Johnny's dumbass then tries opening the door, but the sniper easily picks him off. Eddie reports Johnny's death to the team, warning them to be careful. Mason is still stuck where he is, with the gangsters all around him, making him too scared to move despite Eddie warning him that he does not have a choice. Jamie wants to use the remote car to help, so Eddie wants to know how many men are in the food court. Eddie tells everyone to meet him at a particular spot in 3 minutes once his plan is underway. Jamie reports back that there are 5 gangsters in the food court, and Eddie decides to take care of it. Charlie's men chase the remote car, leading them right to Eddie, who jumps into action, using one man as a shield before pulling off a sick move to instantly kill 3 men. He is tackled by a big, strong man, but Eddie knocks him out easily. Just as everyone moves out towards the meeting spot, Eddie is suddenly attacked by the crazy climbing guy but drops him with shots. Vance and Ruby meet up, but they are ambushed, and Ruby is shot in the stomach before they can escape. Eddie, dual-wielding pistols, shoots his way to Mason, who opens fire on him out of fear before Eddie stops him. Eddie drags him to his feet and manages to catch up with everyone and lock the shutters behind them with Eddie laying down cover fire. Charlie has had enough and decides to get his own hands dirty. He organizes the rest of his men outside the shutter, ordering them to get it open. Ruby is not doing so well, as is Vance, who is bawling his eyes out. Eddie goes to a worried Jamie and gives her a taser to use to protect herself. He is having a hard time connecting with her, as she thinks he is treating her like a child, which makes Eddie think about his own distant connection with his daughter. She tells him about not having her father around much and blames him for not giving her a normal life. Eddie tells her sometimes dads have it hard, and she should consider that, with her father being a criminal, maybe he stayed away to keep her from harm. Charlie then radios Eddie. He tells him he has nowhere else to go and gives him one last chance to hand over Jamie before he barges in and kills everyone. Eddie mocks him for losing Jamie and reminds him the feds will arrive. Charlie ignores this and tells them to get ready. Mason spots some cop cars on the cameras and alerts Eddie. There, Eddie also sees Charlie's communication truck blocking the signals and needs to get rid of it. Vance is keeping watch at the door when he sees a forklift rip through. Vance opens up on the men, summoning his inner Rambo, killing a few gangsters. He then switches to jungle warfare, throwing firebombs before shooting the forklift's gas tank, causing it to explode. Vance, however, takes a bullet to the arm and is forced to retreat and take cover. Eddie goes to meet the feds at the door, who demand to know where Jamie is. He radios Mason to bring Jamie, but they cannot move as the men are approaching. Vance, wanting to steal the spotlight, makes the brave decision to sacrifice himself, making Jamie promise to sink the guys when she gets out. Vance opens fire on the men, distracting them long enough for Mason and Jamie to escape but takes a bullet, dropping him. Before dying, though, he manages to take 2 more guys with him for their trip to the afterlife. Eddie is waiting for Jamie to arrive when he notices a gang tattoo on one of the men. Realizing that this is Charlie's plan, Eddie tries stopping them but Mason runs into a hail of bullets. Jamie hits the road while Eddie summons his PTSD powers and takes out the men. He gives Mason a moment of silence before going to find Jamie. He radios Jamie, asking for Vance, and is pissed to hear that he is also dead. Eddie reassures her that she needs to be strong so that they can both make it out and not let the team's death be in vain. He wants her to head to the bedroom department and find a real walkie-talkie and keep it close, so once he takes out the communications truck, she will call for help on the emergency channels. Once he is done, he promises to find her, and Jamie braves up. Eddie takes off towards the truck. Charlie sees him but is focused on finding Jamie. Eddie jumps on a motorcycle and takes off under heavy gunfire. The gangster named Dead Eyes chases after Eddie but is unable to stop him. Meanwhile, Charlie gets to the room where Jamie is hiding and uses his Diddy senses to feel that she is in the room. He tries to discourage her, telling her that no one is coming to find her and it's best to turn herself over. Deadeye somehow manages to catch up and tackle Eddie from his bike. The two fight, but Deadeyes is more skilled in martial arts and hits Eddie hard, who pulls him into a grapple to even the odds. Deadeyes lounges at Eddie with a blade, managing to stab him in the leg, but Eddie fights back. He goes for his gun, but Eddie heads for the bike and manages to escape. He aims the bike at the van and jumps off just in time before it crashes and destroys the van. He radios to Jamie, and Charlie hears and comes to check, but Jamie had dropped the walkie as a distraction, giving her time to grab the real thing and scream for help. Outside, Eddie comes under sniper fire. He is almost shot, but Deadeyes wants to kill Eddie himself. Eddie finds Vance's gun inside his car. He takes a shot from the sniper to find his position, then fires multiple shots, killing the sniper and shooting Deadeyes. Eddie then collapses to the ground. Inside, Charlie finds the real walkie-talkie with the marshals calling for Jamie and knows he doesn't have much time. He is still talking to Jamie, telling her that Eddie has abandoned her like everyone will in her life. He tells her she doesn't have to die, but he cannot allow her to testify. He adds that she can leave with him and live a new and normal life far away. Jamie has heard enough and takes off running, with Charlie following her. Charlie suddenly finds her hiding spot and drags her out, screaming for Eddie. Eddie turns up, all battered and limping towards them. Charlie tells him he is lost, but Eddie talks to Jamie in code, reminding her she has the taser. In a swift move, Jamie tases Charlie before Eddie shoots him dead. Out of breath, Eddie ensures Jamie is fine before the two make their way towards the marshals who have arrived outside. Jamie then hugs Eddie out of relief. Vance is revealed to have survived his injuries, and the two salute each other as soldiers. A few days later, Eddie wakes in the hospital with Jamie sitting at his bedside. She officially thanks Eddie for saving her life, telling him his daughter is lucky to have him as her dad. She thinks she will be taken to a foster home to start a new life, but she is reunited with her uncle Will, whom she hasn't seen in years. Eddie then watches her leave with a smile on his face. A few days later, Eddie makes the journey to see his wife and daughter, and they all hug, happy to be reunited.